Graham was a chump. Superstar Billy Graham was overrated. I didn't hardly break a sweat beating him. I don't want no more superstar Billy Graham. He's going to have to get in a long line if he wants another shot at this belt. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Don't stand there. I'm the world champion, man. You just stand there and listen to me. Nick Bockwinkel, he's the one that calls himself a champion, too. That's who I want. Billy Graham's a chump. I'm through with him. I want Nick Bockwinkel.
When in the bout did you feel like that you had the title won?
When did I feel like I had it won? About 2.5 weeks ago when I signed the contract. I knew I could beat Billy Graham. He's a has-been. He's washed up. You don't want no more of me, Billy Graham. No, baby.
Jerry the King Lawler, he is the CWA World Heavyweight Champion. Lance Russell from Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky.
Russell, you're a has-been, too.
Glorious night for Lawler, as a matter of fact, and the culmination of a lot of conversation, I'll say that at least. And another culmination is coming up, and that is the fact that for the very first time, CWA champ Jerry Lawler will be meeting Monday night in the Coliseum the AWA champ, Nick Bockwinkel, to decide. We'll end up with one champion out of it. That's what Lawler wanted. I think there's a lot of people wanted. Nick Bockwinkel not backing up from Lawler by any means. Boy, I'll tell you what, he is some kind of champion. That'll be coming up Monday night, title against title, and it should be a good one down there. Right now, we're going to troop around front here. I want to get out here where I'll have the opportunity to introduce a couple of guys that you have not previously met face-to-face on our championship wrestling. You were introduced to him by tape last week. Billy Robinson. Billy, good to have you out, and Paul Ellering. I was just saying that the folks got a chance to see Paul and Billy in action last week with the tape. This is our first chance to have you here, and I got to tell you, it is a real pleasure. I said it before, you're a wrestler's wrestler. Everybody knows that, and a real pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you, Lance. I want to say it's a pleasure to meet you. I've been wanting to meet you. You're famous around the world. You really are.
Bless you. Paul from Minnesota, Melrose, Minnesota, and Billy from Manchester, England. And Billy, I know that the reputation of being a wrestler's wrestler has some of the drawbacks in there because you run into some yahoos like we had. I'm sorry about the little activity we had earlier in there. But
all I can say is that I'm out to wrestle. I want to prove myself as one of the top wrestlers in the world and get a crack at the World Championship. And what people call me or what people scream and shout doesn't make any difference. I'm not a talking man. I prefer that actions speak louder than words, and I get in the ring and I wrestle. That's all I'm here to do.
You are a real businessman in that ring. I've had an opportunity to see you a couple of times. You've just been in the area about a week or so. And Billy, I got to ask you, do you ever really get mad?
Oh, I can see the occasion where one would lose one's temper, but that's at a disadvantage. That puts you at a disadvantage. If you lose your temper and get in there and you forget what you've been trained to do. I believe that I'm a machine in a way, and if the machine gets out of cogs and the cogs get a bit crazy, then I can make mistakes, and I don't intend to make mistakes.
He doesn't make very many of them. As a matter of fact, you don't make too many of them playing cribbage either. You're a doggone cribbage player, too. Billy Robinson and Paul, by golly, I'll tell you, we saw that tape of you last week. I have not had an opportunity. We're going to get our first look on championship wrestling. Welcome to the territory.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. You know, I've traveled over the country and over the world, and there's Memphis, and the Memphis area has a big reputation for wrestling. That's why I've decided to come here. I've came here, and I'm from a small town, and my dad always told me when I was young, he said, Paul, you work hard and you're going to get what you work for. And I've worked hard, and I've come here, and I want to win the World Championship right here in Memphis.
Yeah, Lance, I want to cut in here. This guy is very, very modest. We have trained together before, and this man broke the world record of the deadlift, and he doesn't tell about what he can do or what he has done, and that's why I appreciate the man. The man has broken the world record at the deadlift, and he's one of the strongest men in the country at his weight.
Yeah, you held the world record, Paul, at 745 1/4 pounds for a deadlift, right?
Well, that's right, and I thank Billy for saying that. He's a great champion wrestler, and he's never beside himself to always say a good word about another fellow wrestler. Well, I did set the world record, and I worked very hard to do it. And
you were also the NCAA weightlifting champion, were you not?
That's right. And I did these goals were all goals of mine to build myself up to become a professional wrestler. I took up weightlifting, but I had a very extensive amateur wrestling career. But I had to gain some size, so I took up weightlifting, and along the way, I did become the NCAA wrestling champion, and I did set a world record.
My golly, I'll tell you what. There's no question he built a frame in there. Paul, again, delighted to have you here. We'd like to see you in action right here. And, Billy, I'm going to ask you sometimes when I get in there and I give them my country connotation of what the hold is, I don't exactly call them by the right name. Would you sit down with me? And,
I would love to, and I hope the people can understand my accent.
Okay. Thanks, Paul. Good luck to you. And here we're going to be look forward to seeing you around here. Billy Robinson, if you'll come around here, Billy, and take Dave's chair, and he'll do the official introductions, and we'll be ready to get it on with action, and we'll have Billy Robinson as our guest. Billy, you won the British Empire Championship at 17 years of age, didn't you? Which is kind of an incredible...
I won the British Amateur title at 17, and then I won the European when I was 18 years old, and I turned pro, and, you know, I come from a very extensive background of amateur wrestling, and I always thought an amateur wrestling was the toughest man around, and that's until I went to a professional gymnasium, and they really showed me what it took.
Let's get Dave in the introductions. We'll have a chance to see Paul in action.
It's one fall, 15-minute time limit match. Introducing from parts unknown, 223 pounds, the Avenger. And going against him on the right of your screen, from Melrose, Minnesota, 235 pounds, Paul Ellering. This match, one fall, 15-minute time limit. Referee Jerry Calhoun.
Milton.
Okay,
we're off and running with Billy Robinson. Billy, if you will, just help us out on some of the moves and see the Avengers.
Well, that was a quick reverse into a full Nelson, and it took Paul by surprise. Obviously, this man has got a lot of ability, and he looks very strong. Well, you watch Paul now. He's going to use his strength, I think, to get out. That talks for itself.
Look at those legs.
Right. That was a single leg drop.